It's good to have Mike D back on. Mike Detillier, WWL. All right, it's good to have Mike Detillier back on the show on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, Saints, LSU NFL, college football. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and we're brought to you by BetMGM. It is the king of sports books, and Beau Ravage's BetMGM Book Bar and Grill is the South's premier Vegas-style sports book. Visit a live betting window, self-service kiosk, or use the BetMGM app to place your bets on your favorite games and sporting events. The app offers free-to-play promotions, live betting options, boosted odds specials at your fingertips. Experience the action at BetMGM Book Bar and Grill, only at the Beau Rivage. We welcome in Mike D to the show. The Saints looking for a coach. Mike D, as this coaching search takes place, is this because maybe Miss Benson's doing all the other things that she's doing? Is this Mickey Loomis and Mickey Loomis alone? How will this work?
I think Mickey's going to have a huge say on who the next head coach is. I think, one of the things maybe people don't get, Gail Benson does keep a close eye on this team, and she's involved with it. Every day matters. But it's basically going to be a decision made by Mickey Loomis along with Dennis Lauscher, who is basically, he's the money guy for the Saints. I think it'll be those two guys that will have the kind of stamp of approval on a new head coach.
In the NFL, you don't have to move like you do in college football because of recruiting in the portal. So with Ben Johnson as the hotshot offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions, how do you see it, Mike? You know a lot of people in the league. Is most everybody going to wait on him? They don't even play for 2 weeks. We don't know how long they'll win. How do you see that? Or will some teams move just because of the timeline? Go ahead and move.
I think Ben Johnson's going to would be the hot guy for anyone, but he's always been very choosing on where he wants to go to. I would keep my eye on what happens in Chicago because that would seem to be a nice fit for him. He would have a young quarterback in place. He's got some weapons at wide receiver, tight end, at running back. And he knows that division very well. Now, he also knows about stepping in the ring twice a year against Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay. The other option would possibly be New York with the Jets or Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville, to me, I wouldn't want to deal with Trent Baalke. But other than that, it has cap space, has a young quarterback, has some pieces in place and an owner that's willing to spend money. And so I think Chicago, possibly New York, but Jacksonville being the other option for Ben Johnson because there are certain things in place there for him. But in Jacksonville has got that one albatross, and that's Baalke. How he keeps a job, I have no idea. This is the same guy that got into a big beef with Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco.
That's right.
Convinced the York family to side with him instead of Jim Harbaugh. He goes to Jacksonville. He ain't one squat there. Nothing. And he continues to keep his job. They pick high every year in the draft. And I'm just amazed. Again, it's kind of the good old boy network that he has been able to survive all these years. If it's been in San Francisco and Jacksonville, it's unbelievable. But that would be the one negative for me. Now, again, I don't know how much Ben Johnson is asking for other than salary to be a head coach. But if he wanted to bring in his own personnel guy, Mr. Khan would have to think about that. And, again, I don't understand his thinking of keeping Trent to begin with. I think that's a negative when you're trying to land a top coach.
Mike Detillier, Saints Insider, NFL Insider on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone ESPN. There's several openings around the league, as Mike D was referencing. Saints are looking for a coach. Mike, outside of, let's say they don't win the Ben Johnson sweepstakes, or maybe never even get into it because you mentioned the Bears and some other options. Do you have another name or two that maybe you think Loomis in the band will look at for the Saints?
I think Ben Johnson, I would take his name off the board. Ben Johnson's not coming to New Orleans. But Aaron Glenn would be the guy that I would keep a close eye on. Because of his ties here. He was a former player with the Saints. He was a former assistant coach. He left with Dan Campbell when Dan was a former, coach here with the Saints also. And so he's got ties. He knows how the organization works. And I do think in this league, it's not an all-the-time thing, but I do think it matters if you played. Because when you're getting your point across to a player, he's going to say, man, what do you know about, football professionally? Aaron Glenn could tell him, I know plenty because I played it. I'm not asking you to do something I haven't been asked to do. And so I think Aaron Glenn would certainly be a guy to keep an eye on because to be honest, I think he's number one on the list for the Saints. I think if they had their choice, it would be Aaron Glenn. Some of these other names that are out there, I get it. You want to interview them, but I think it's Aaron Glenn's job if he wants it. If he wants it. Now, again, he may have other options. And like Ben Johnson, you may have to wait a while for him. You may have to wait. So I think Glenn would be number one on the list for me. And it's a distant second. Okay.
All right, Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, kind of in the same boat timeline-wise as teams in the running for Ben Johnson, because Detroit has a bye, and so they're not even playing this weekend. They play next weekend. They win. Y'all know the drill. But that would make sense on Aaron Glenn. How do you think they'll handle the quarterback position over the next year or two in New Orleans, Mike D?
I really believe unless the new head coach comes in and says, I don't want Derek Carr. Derek Carr will play quarterback for the Saints next year in 2025. There's no good, salary cap relief for this team. And that's a big part of the problem is that they've extended contracts to veteran players, and you kind of stuck. If it's Cam Jordan, he goes down. He's on the Mount Rushmore for New Orleans Saints football players.
Heck yeah.
But he basically kind of got a lifetime deal with the Saints. Tyrann Mathieu is another one. DeMario Davis, and I think of the three, he has the most football juice left in him to play. But DeMario is always sort of talked about every year in the offseason. I think about it. And I want to leave out when I can still play at a high level.
Mm.
And so I think that'll be DeMario's call. Won't be the Saints on when he decides to leave. The other part, too, is, and we talked about this last night, dead money for Ryan Ramczyk. Ryan Ramczyk's never playing football again. And he's going to announce his retirement sometime in the spring, I would imagine. And that's another big hit for this football team for a player who's not going to be on the roster. Man, Bo, you got a lot of money tied up in players that a year from now, you know, they're not going to be around within 365 days. With Cam, he has talked about he'd like to continue to play. Will that be with the Saints? Or would they say, you know what, you've been great to us. We appreciate everything that you've done, but we're going to move on and give him his release that he can sign with another team. So, man, there's a lot of major financial decisions, personnel decisions to be made on this football team. And the new coach coming in, he's going to understand that very quickly. This team has had that history of kicking a can down the road. And I think they'll continue to do some of that. But eventually, you got to do better money management and pay the credit card bill. You got to do it. And the only way to do it is to get younger and to hit in the draft. Because Tampa showed you how to do it. You know, a couple of years back, they were all chips in. They had never really kind of kicked the salary cap back. But they felt an opportunity with Brady and Gronkowski, Fournette, Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, Antonio Brown, that they kind of kicked a lot of money back, hoping to win. They did win in 2020. You know, they won the Super Bowl, and they made the playoffs. The other 2 years didn't get into the Super Bowl, and then Brady retires. All of a sudden now, you've got a lot of money dead on the books. But I give Jason Light a lot of credit. He did a fantastic job of a soft rebuild. In 2 years, that money now is basically wiped off the books. And he's hit on every draft choice. Over the last 3 years, every draft choice has made that team but one. Dang. Think about that. You don't think Light and that staff has really hit it? And they hit on the biggest position, and it's not costing them a bundle. Baker Mayfield at quarterback.
Right.
So, man, okay, the blueprint's there for you to do. Will they do it? Will the Saints swallow hard and say, you know what? Let's do what we got to do and try to clear as much money out as we can and try to rebuild with a younger team. I'm not sure they're ready to do that. I'll be honest with you. So I'm not real sure that they're ready to do that.
Okay. It's a good – you're talking about the Buccaneers. It's a good point. And the Rams went all in, and then everybody said they couldn't do it again, and they're back in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was another team that they did it a little bit differently, but they kicked a lot of money and spent a lot of money on veteran players and then cut them loose. And then you had Aaron Donald walk away. See, that part sometimes gets lost in the discussion here. You talking about one of the greatest players to ever put on a helmet and a jock strap, and he's not there. You know, he walks away after signing a huge contract a couple years earlier. He's not on the roster. And give Sean McVay a lot of credit. Not only has he lost a ton of players, look what every year he's got to do to his coaching staff, because all them cats get head coaching jobs.
No doubt.
So, man, you know, that is really something to see, and you saw it in Tampa. Dave Canales, what he was able to do with Baker Mayfield, landed him the head coaching job with the Carolina Panthers. So you don't think somewhere down the line Liam Cohen's going to be in the exact same spot?
Mike Detillier.
And guess what? He got his start. He was a McVay guy.
Yeah.
And then he went coach at Kentucky for a little while. He was the offensive coordinator. He made Will Levis look good.
Yeah.
Hey, give him credit there. And then, look what he's done this year with an offense that had a lot of injuries along the offensive line. They lose Chris Godwin. The offense still hummed. Still humming.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Out of Bounds show. We're talking Saints, big hire, lots of veterans on, as Mike is telling us, look, they may have another year, but what are they going to do as far as the cap too and in the draft? It's brought to you by Sound and Communications. If you need a video wall for your business or school, soundcomav.com. All right, so Mike D, when you hear talking heads talk about Mike Tomlin and people maybe trying to contact the Steelers to see if they would be interested in doing something, do you say that's not, the Steelers are known, they've only had 3 coaches, as you know, Noel, Cowher, and Tomlin, which is unbelievable. They don't move off guys. He's a good coach, but he hadn't won a playoff game in whatever it is, 13 years, 12 years. It's been a long time. What's your reaction to that, Mike D?
I think there's more outside noise than inside noise.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the way the Rooney family has run.
Sure.
It's always been like that. From the old Pop, Art Rooney, all the way down. That's how there's always done it. There's always this chatter, because I think sometimes people are looking for something to talk about, or it's sort of clickbait on X and Facebook and whatever they put it on. They're looking for attention. But I think that's more talk than anything else. The inside talk has been different. Man, how many years have that been brought up about Tomlin? He's still coaching there, isn't he? But every year, it's the same song and dance. Eventually, something's going to happen. And you know what? Oh, I told you. Yeah, you told me that 8 years ago. Okay, what happened in the other 7? Again, I think if you look back at history with them, they've never been one to pull the rug quickly on a coach. They will give him every opportunity. And this is something, Mike Ditka didn't say a lot of sharp things here, but one of the things he always would say was, when you make a decision on a player or a coach, you better make damn sure you got somebody that's better.
Well, that's a great point, Mike D, because Tomlin's a good coach.
I think he was talking about himself in Chicago. But I think I understand what he was getting at. That if you make a decision on a coach or a player, you better make damn sure you got somebody that can fill that role and do it as good as he can or better. Because there's a lot of stupidity that goes on today. People repeating this next man up. Okay, that's the dumbest line I've ever heard in my life. But it gets said by coaches, and I understand them saying it to their team. Because you have injuries, you got to have somebody take their place.
Right.
But to have media people say it is head shaking to me. Okay, there is no, if that guy was that much, as good as the other guy, he would be playing. The next man up is in theory great, but it's not reality. And that's why in this age of free agency, and it's a commuter world, that doesn't apply. Okay, I can't tell you how many people would call in the sports talk with us. It's time to get rid of Drew Brees. He can't play no more. Well, we need a running quarterback. Okay? They didn't talk nothing about being an accurate quarterback. Look how many quarterbacks have stepped under center since Drew's walked away. Okay? And you're still trying to replace him. Dan Marino walked away from this game quite a few years ago. Miami's still looking to replace him.
That's a good point.
Now, Tua is a good player, but, availability is an issue with him.
Sure.
Because of, the head issue, and now the hip is starting to give him issues. So all I'm saying is that's easy to say. It's just like Jerry saying, I got 1,000 coaches that can coach this team as good as Jimmy Johnson. Really? What's happened since Jimmy Johnson? Look at
Nothing.
the chaos on that football team post Jimmy.
God, don't even get me started. Jerry just frustrates me. He's so bad at being a general manager. Good grief.
But get ready, because he'll have that job to the day he takes
Yes,
that last
he will.
breath.
You know that. You've been around the NFL for 40 years.
Yeah.
Ed Werder talks about it on Twitter. He's like, guys, he's not giving up the gig. He will die as the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys.
And he feels as though he does it better than anybody else. Now,
I mean,
that's the real.
I mean, Howie Roseman and guys that are doing it, Veach at Kansas City and Lynch at San Fran and the dude at Detroit, they do it 17 hours a day. Jerry does it 3 hours a day. This is not hard. Anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
The other thing, too, is I will give Jerry full credit on this. I think he drew up the game plan, and it is a master game plan on finances.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
You got to give him full credit. He was the guy that came up with that. And every team since that has kind of followed suit with Jerry. The problem is Jerry feels as though he is the talent evaluator. He's the coach picker. He's drawing up plays in the dirt. I mean, he wants to run everything to get full credit. I think a lot of owners, he acts today more like a 40-year-old than an 80-year-old, that he wants full credit for everything. Now, most people as they get older, they kind of set in their ways, but they're willing to share the part of being in control. Not Jerry. He ain't sharing nothing.
No. Do you think
what other owner has a weekly radio show? Come on.
Multiple.
That's unbelievable.
I know.
That's just unreal.
Mike, I've only got a minute. Jerry's kind of really sentimental in this part of his life. It took him way too long to move off Jason Garrett. Re-sign Zeke Elliott, just dumb stuff left and right. Do you think that they keep McCarthy or move off of McCarthy? I've got 1 minute.
I think he's still debating that, to be honest, on what to do with Mike. I think he'd really like to keep him, though. But I think there's still a little bit in the back of his mind about moving. But I would say right now he keeps him.
Yeah, I kind of get the sense, too. I do. But who knows with Jerry. All right. Mike D on the Out of Bounds show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We'll get into LSU's portal haul with Mike in the next couple of weeks. They have done very well. Brian Kelly is, as Mike said, he's not going anywhere, but the seat's getting a little warmer, and they are kicking some tail, and they already recruit in the top, 5 or 7 every year. So I think LSU's ready to make a move here. Mike D, enjoy the NFL playoffs and the week, and thank you so much, my man.
Appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. It's brought to you by Sound and Communications. So if you're looking to do a video wall for your casino, your business, your school, your lobby, your hospital, that's powered by Sound and Communications. SoundcomAV.com. Jake Mangum, live in studio, coming up next.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m., and this ain't no kiddie show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
All aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Jake Mangum joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. He's live in studio. If you want to watch the show this hour, you can go to YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports. If you want to stream it, you can go to the Out of Bounds radio app. And we want to welcome you in on a chilly Mississippi morning. Jake Mangum in studio. A few weeks from now, he'll be going down to the Tampa area. He's with the Tampa Bay Rays, has made the 40-man roster, and had an unbelievable year last year in Durham with the Durham Bulls.
Durham Bulls. It was a lot of fun, man. I've been telling everybody, like, bucket list for baseball fans, go check out a Durham Bulls game at the DBAP, Durham Bulls Athletic Park, downtown Durham. They redid the downtown area not long ago. It's gorgeous, man. Marvelous area.
Yeah, when you were on a month ago or whenever it was when you found out that you were on the 40-man roster for the Tampa Bay Rays, you told us they packed the park.
Just pack it, man. It's that community around Raleigh just loves baseball.
That's incredible.
I think it's the movie. Our best bet, just because that movie's Bull Durham is such a classic baseball movie. That's my guess, but man, we're 10, 12,000 deep, like, for minor league baseball and AAA. That? It was awesome. It was awesome. And I've been fortunate enough to be at a lot of cool places, but man, Durham it's really tough to beat. Like, if you look across the country, all the minor league ballparks, I'd say I'm putting Durham #1, and I'm biased, but Durham's got to be the best spot to play minor league baseball.
It's a beautiful area, too. Chapel Hill, Durham,
really is.
That whole deal.
We were like 3 minutes from Duke's campus, so I got to go tour Cameron Indoor. It was
awesome.
Cool. Beautiful area.
Jake Mangum on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, the hit king out of Mississippi State University, Jackson Prep, MSU, now with the Tampa Bay Rays. Huge Mississippi State fan. What I love is Jake walks in. He's like, we can talk basketball for an hour if you want, and we'll get to that. But I've got to ask him a couple of questions before we talk Hubbard and Matthews and Murphy, because we have people rotating through the show. Some people listen early, late, go back on the podcast. But we got Jake on the phone a month or two ago when he got called up, and I just want you to briefly. I thought it was a great story. Tell us about the old Waverly.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Tell us about the story
cool.
again.
Pretty cool.
About what your agent had told you that morning, and then it's several hours later while you're playing golf with some friends. What happened?
So there's a 40-man roster cutoff, and the day that they called me was the deadline. Your 40-man roster has to be set before something called the Rule 5 draft. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in baseball. Very hard to explain, but the best way I could say it is, the day they called me was the last day I could get added to the 40-man, or I'd go into this year as a non-40-man player. And everyone's been congratulating me on making it up. Now, I still have some work to do.
Right.
The active roster for a big league baseball game is 26-man roster. Now, there is a 40-man roster, so you have 14 guys that aren't on the team that are in AAA and every now and again AA as the 40-man roster. So I still got to go make the 26-man roster. Still got some work to do, but now over the last 2.5 years in AAA, it's always been, well, you're not on the 40-man roster, so we have to make a move in order to get you up. Now I'm on the team. Now I just have to go and make that final cut at camp. It's a great opportunity the Rays have given me, and the day of the deadline, I didn't see it coming. My agent the day before was like, man, I wouldn't get your hopes up. It's not sounding too good. And, the day of the deadline, I was playing golf at Old Waverly, hole number 2. Got the phone call, man. Yeah, it was something I won't ever forget. I was playing golf with Denver McQuarrie and Kyle Bales. Yeah, it was a really, really fun day, man. Won't forget it.
And we're visiting with Jake Mangum on the Out of Bounds show. So, Jake, now you'll be down there January 28th, somewhere in there?
Yeah, I'm going to head down the end of the month. I'd say February 1st is a Saturday. I'm going to move in that Sunday, February 2nd, and I'll head into the park February 3rd, Monday, and start rolling that day.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll be down there about 10, 12 days early. I always like getting down there early, getting acclimated. It's typically January and February is the coldest months in Mississippi. So I get to get outside and start running around in sunny and 75. So it's always nice. Exciting time of year. Whenever New Year's hits, it's typically anyone in pro baseball always says New Year's is whenever, you're like, all right, it's go time.
Yeah, I could tell when I ran into you on Saturday at the Mississippi State, South Carolina game. You were like, I'm ready.
Yeah, yes, I'm very eager to get down there. Not just because of the 40-man roster stuff. I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's just, you really think that this is the year if I can do my job right and just keep going.
Yeah. You talked about, I interviewed you at the country club a couple of months ago, and you talked about just your love for playing the game. Still love playing baseball, the grind and everything.
I want to play until they tell me, hey, you can't do this anymore.
You said they were going to have to rip the jersey off.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? When you're done playing, you're done playing. You can't really go back unless you're Tom Brady, and you want to unretire. But, it's I love what I do, and I'm going to do it as long as I can do it. As long as the good Lord wills me to do it, I'm gonna keep going.
Where is the Tampa Bay facility that you'll be working in?
So our spring training is 1 hour south, literally 60 minutes south of Tampa. We're in Port Charlotte, Florida. It's literally, man, just hop on the interstate. You're an hour south. I tell everybody, man, come on down there. I'll give you tickets.
I'm going.
Come. Yeah, come on.
I'm going. I told Jackson
training. I tell everybody, if you want to come visit during the year, spring training's the best because it's the only time of year that pro baseball players work a normal job. It really is like an 8 to 4. We get there at like 7 a.m. and we leave. The games every day are at 1 o'clock. They go a little bit faster than in season because it's spring training. So we're done every day by 3:30. So it's a fun time of year because you get back into baseball, you kind of get get the wheels moving a little bit. And then every day I get to go home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I get to watch, my high school. I get to watch prep baseball, pull it up on the stream. I get to watch Mississippi State baseball. I get to watch basketball games. Yeah, so in season, I get there at noon and I leave at 11 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. So it's the one time a year that as Jay Powell put it, it's the one time a year that you feel like a normal human being working.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's spring training's fun, man. Weather's perfect. Everyone's excited. Baseball's here. And, and all the golfers can go play golf in the afternoon. It's a fun time of year.
Have you played golf in the last month?
I haven't because it's been, December is kind of really when you start picking up steam, but right. October and November is kind of a big 2 months for me. I play golf a lot. I work out and play golf. And then when December hits, I start working out, throwing, hitting. The days are a little bit longer now when I train.
Did you play, I know you played Old Waverly because that's where you were.
Played Waverly.
Starkville Country Club?
Yeah, Starkville Country Club looks fantastic.
It does. Zach Tate's a
Yeah,
dude.
Zach, he's the man. They redid some stuff at Starkville Country Club. The clubhouse is redone. It looks awesome. And played Mississippi State golf course in Starkville. They redid some things. That looks fantastic. There's some good golf around there. And,
yeah, it is.
Played the Refuge. Played Dancing Rabbit, Fallen Oaks. There's some good golf courses in Mississippi.
How about that? Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, one of our awesome partners. Jake Mangum in the house, the hit king. Now with the Tampa Bay Rays, he's on the 40-man roster. He'll head down in a few weeks. We'll talk some Mississippi State hoops and life with Mangum over the next 30 minutes. Good morning. Welcome in. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. right. Jake Mangum on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, the hit king for, hey, will you press that button? Thank you. Jake Mangum, hit king for Mississippi State University, SEC, joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. He's with the Tampa Bay Rays, made the 40-man roster. He was at Old Waverly on hole number 2 when he got the call. He and his agent had discussed it the day before. He did not think it was going to happen. It did. It's well-deserved. Had an unbelievable year for the Durham Bulls this past year, and he's hit 317 in like 1,200 appearances in AAA or something like that. And we're glad to have him in studio before he goes back down to South Florida, crushes it, and makes the roster. It's a 26-man roster. But he's on the 40, which is a big deal. He'll be going down in a few weeks, about an hour south of Tampa. Tampa Bay Rays player Jake Mangum on the Out of Bounds show. The next segment's 24 minutes, so we're really going to get into, Mississippi State sports and this basketball team that's ranked 13th in the net rankings and taking on Vanderbilt tonight, Kentucky on Saturday. And I thought Jake brought up a great point, and we'll make this about two brothers and older brother, two awesome restaurants and bars in Starkville. But because the Kentucky game's at 7:30 on Saturday, people are going to be basically tailgating around town all day.
It's going to be so much fun, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
They'll do brunch, lunch at Commodore Bob's or older brother or two brothers or wherever you want to go. And then they're going to have an early dinner, 4:30, 5:30, 6, and then the game's at 7:30 against Kentucky, which is big. Mark Pope is the new coach for the Cats. He played for Patino and Tubby, but Patino signed him, and then he got a national championship and all that kind of good stuff. So Pope was at BYU, and now he's the head coach for the Cats. One of your friends, I want to talk about Brent Rooker real quick, if that's cool.
Yeah, I woke up with some news with him on my phone this morning.
You did. How about
well
that?
deserved, man. $60 million for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves it. Watching him my first 2 years at Mississippi State, 2016, Rook was a good baseball player, no doubt about it. But what he did from 2016 to 2017, it was unbelievable, man. The 2017 year Triple Crown was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in baseball to this day. Every time he came up, you knew a ball was going to be hit really, really hard. He didn't strike out, now which is a very rare thing today, game. Like, you either have a strikeout guy that hits the ball hard or you have a contact guy. But he did everything. He stole bases. He didn't strike out. He hit home runs, hit doubles, hit triples, hit singles. Like, it was unbelievable. And since then, all he's done is hit. It kind of took him a minute to figure out which team's going to give him a true shot in the big leagues. It felt like he had a lot of opportunities in the big leagues, but it was like, hey, here's 15 at bats over 2 weeks. Good luck.
Right.
Really hard to do. The A's stuck their neck out for him, which I don't really think is sticking their neck out for him, but they gave him a shot, a true shot.
That's right.
And he did what Brent Rooker does. He hits the ball really hard and doesn't strike out a lot. Well deserved. I'm happy that it's with the A's because I know that it's the team that truly gave him a shot. So I know it's cool to lock it in with the team that gave you that shot.
Yeah.
So
it's a good point.
I know he's happy with the A's. I know he loves it.
Y'all have a lot of respect for each other.
He's a A+ human being, man. Great dude. Great family. Just pulling for him forever.
And he is funny.
Yeah, he's
you know him, but
he's
God, his personality.
Really smart
been in
guy. Really,
studio.
really smart guy. One of the best Twitter follows I think you can absolutely have is Brent Rooker.
Guy keeps me.
I hate that he
rolling.
doesn't tweet in season because I want to kind of see what in season's tough for baseball players because it's up and down. It's every day, man. It's Brent Rooker put it best when I was in college and he was explaining pro ball to me. He was like, it's every day. Here comes 5 at bats against really good pitchers, whether you want them or not. You can be in a good headspace, bad headspace, want it or not. here they come. And that's been something that I think is the hardest part about pro ball is through the ups and downs of a season, like it or not, 5 at-bats are coming your way. And, it takes a special kind of human being to kind of deal with that. And, I've had a lot of help in my corner, and I think, Brent Rooker's one of those guys that I look back and he's helped me through my pro career, whether he even knows that or not. And, anytime he's kind of given me advice, I've really taken it to heart and kind of ran with it.
Brent Rooker signed 5-year, $60 million deal with the A's, and they'll be eventually moving to Vegas. Mangum and Rooker played together on some damn good teams at Mississippi State. So Jake went to 2 super regionals and 2 college World Series. Is that right?
Yep, four super regionals, two Omaha trips. And I tell everybody the 2016 team that got put out by Arizona, to this day, I'm still putting them up as one of the best baseball teams Mississippi State's ever had. We didn't win a national championship. We didn't. We didn't go to Omaha, but I would put up our 2016 team against anybody. And I know, obviously whoever played for what team is going to be biased towards their team. Right. No doubt about that. I totally get that. But looking back, if you look at that 2016 roster, it's crazy what we had. We just ran into Bobby Dahlbeck.
Dude, those 2 pitchers for Arizona were filthy that Jay Johnson had.
Bobby Dahlbeck hit a 3-run shot and threw a complete game. It's and that's what's tough, man. And that's what's hard to understand. Like college baseball is tough because you can just run into a hot pitcher, hot hitter, and it's the best 2 out of 3 series in super regionals. It just might not be your weekend. Right. And that's what's great. 2016, the 2 best teams in the country, I thought, were us and A&M. Neither one of us made it to Omaha that year.
Right. Man,
and it's I'd put that team up against anybody. I really would.
Jake Mangum on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Jake heading out around February 1 and with the Tampa Bay Rays. Made the 40-man roster. So exciting times. I like what he said earlier. It's your only time. You're 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you kind of have a normal schedule in February and March, and then it's game on.
Oh, yeah. April to October, it's every single day, and you're going to get there at noon. You're going to leave at 10 to 11 at night.
Yeah.
And I love it. Don't get me wrong. But
Sure.
But spring training is the one time a year you feel like a normal human being. Like I call people when they're off work instead of me calling people in the morning. You know what I mean? It's like in season, I'm calling, like when I make my phone calls, it's like, man, I'm at work. What are you doing? I'm like, just woke up. It's, 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, I got to head to the field in 2 hours. Got to grab breakfast and head to the field at noon. It's just a different way of life. But
I like that schedule a lot.
Love what I do, though.
Do you eat after the game when you play?
Yeah, in baseball, in the minor leagues, I can't really speak for the big leagues because they eat like kings apparently. But in minor leagues, we have a pregame meal and a postgame meal. They give us 2 meals, so typically you get a meal before you go to the field, then you eat a pregame meal and postgame meal.
All right, this guy knows how good Two Brothers is, and we were there a couple of months ago. I'm sure you've been there a ton since you've been.
I haven't been to Older Brother yet.
He
so
hasn't been to Older Brother yet, but he's going soon. And I told him the Reuben is amazing. The muffaletta is amazing. And the shrimp po' boy that Barton Dinkins at Two Brothers and Older Brothers doing. So we may have to go this weekend.
Yeah, I got Brandon Walker's coming to the game this weekend, so we need to all hang out in the district somewhere and hang out before the game, have a little tailgating session before this big basketball game. I'm excited.
The Reuben at Older Brother. One more segment with the Hit King, Jake Mangum, on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Good morning. Jake Mangum, live in studio. You can go to YouTube and watch on Out of Bounds Sports. Jake Mangum in the house. Got him in studio before he headed down to South Florida. Tampa Bay Rays, 40-man roster. Got that call a couple of months ago. He was playing golf at Old Waverly, hole number 2. And this interview is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your car and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. And then also two brothers in Starkville in the Cotton District and their new sister restaurant, older brother, which has the best Reuben I've ever had in my life. Now, they've got the deviled eggs as an appetizer. They drizzle honey on there, and then they crumble up some bacon, which is fabulous. They've got a muffaletta shrimp po' boy. It's a high-end bistro, older brother now, open in Starkville. Jake he was at the game. He doesn't really miss many games for his off season, but he was at the South Carolina game. And then this weekend, State plays Kentucky. Tonight, they play Vanderbilt, but they've had a hell of a year. And
every single night. So it's fun. The hump's kind of rocking a little bit. And now that we get into SEC play, the South Carolina, the attendance was fantastic. The students weren't packed out because it's normally the other way around. Students are always packing out every game. And,
right.
But this last game, the students weren't back on campus yet because it's still Christmas break. But this weekend against Kentucky, I think we're going to have the best atmosphere we've seen in the hump in a very, very long time.
I agree with you. 3 Saturday home games in a row, and that hadn't happened. Jans has kind of gotten the short end of the stick the last couple of years. But so they just played South Carolina and won last Saturday. Jake and I were there.
Dominated.
Won by 35. And you don't do that in this league, so that's impressive. They play Kentucky this weekend. And then they play Ole Miss the next Saturday.
Yep.
So that's back-to-back weekends. Jake Mangum in the house. We're live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I tell you what, Riley Kugel, transfer from Florida. Now, Melendez and Harris, like you mentioned earlier, there's just a lot of help for Hubbard now on the wing and on the perimeter compared to last year.
Yep.
But, man, Kugel can score from every level, and he's kind of silky smooth game.
Yeah, man. It's really cool to see Hubbard have some just help that can put up a lot of points. Yeah. Like Chris Jan said it best. He was saying, we have guys that used to lead teams in scoring, but Josh Hubbard's going to be our guy to do that. And the way Melendez, Harris, and Kugel have kind of fallen into these transfer portal, and now they're playing into roles that we need them to play in. It's been awesome to see.
Yeah.
But it always starts, I think, with Cam Matthews. I think if you look at our team, when Cam Matthews isn't in foul trouble, when he is on the court, we're a different basketball team. Everyone thinks he's kind of our glue guy, and I think there's no doubt about that.
No question.
Cam he's so important to this basketball team. And they all are. Like on any given night, we got 9 guys that are going to be in there and really contributing to our team.
Yeah, Cam Matthews' stat line's incredible because, for example, South Carolina game, he didn't need to score a lot of points. It was like 9 points, 5 boards, 3 or 4 steals, and 2 or 3 assists, which in college basketball is unbelievable. In other words, like you said, he's the straw that stirs the drink. And then you better pick up Hubbard as soon as he comes across half court or.
Well, it's last year you just saw so many teams double and triple team Hubbard.
Right. That when he helped.
And he would make shots that were crazy. But this year he doesn't really have to take those crazy shots.
Right.
It's all right if you're going to double team Hubbard, but we got Claudell Harris. Right. And he's a dog.
Yeah.
Murphy, I think, is the way Murphy's improvements over the last year has been insane. And I think that's a big shout out to the strength coach, Dom. I think he's done a fantastic job with them. They all look in shape. They all look physical. Man, you watch them, and it's just like any given night, someone else is going to step up. Like there's been so many nights where Melendez was the MVP, Claudell, Hubbard, Cam, Murphy. It's a deep team that's a lot of fun to watch, and I really hope that the Hump is going to be one of the best atmospheres in the country the next couple, or I only got a couple more home games to go to, but the Kentucky Ole Miss, the next 2 Saturdays are going to be electric, man.
Look, you won't be able to move there the next 2 weekends. They play tonight at Vanderbilt in Nashville. That is a weird gym and arena. I've been up there several times. Vandy's 13-1, 1-0 in league play. You got to have your guard up tonight, 8:00, and then, as Jake said, you play 7:30 Saturday night. You won't be able to move in Humphrey Coliseum. This will be Rick Stansberry type crowds. Howland had a few, but this will be Rick Stansberry type crowd with Kentucky coming in town. Mississippi State is ranked 13th in the NCAA net rankings, and it's littered. The top 35 is littered with SEC teams. They're only. The only Q quad 3 loss they could have taken was last weekend. That's how good the league is. The rest will be Q1, Q2. It looks like. Yep. That's insane.
Now, and South Carolina, I don't think they're going to finish in the top half of the SEC. But I think South Carolina played a bad game. I think that we saw a bad product of South Carolina. I don't know what they're going to do in SEC, but I don't see them finishing in the top 3/4 of it. I think they're going to be a bottom 4th team. But we saw a bad product, and that's not our fault. Like if that's going to happen, beat them by 35
Absolutely.
Or whatever bad we beat them. But tonight's a trap game a little bit, because you're 1-0 in conference play. You're rolling. You're top 15 now. And like you said, man, that's a great point. Vanderbilt's a weird arena. Like when you watch it on TV, I've been in there before, but not for a basketball game. It's a weird arena. It's not like a basketball gym. It's almost like an amphitheater with just weird levels.
And the two teams are underneath the basket. Yeah. It's wild. I remember walking in there, I guess in the late 80s, early 90s, and I was like, what the heck? And they beat people all the time for a while. They're home. I mean, at home, it was tough to get them. They've been up and down the last decade or so, but they're 13-1 and 1-0. You mentioned Keyshawn Murphy. We're visiting with Jake Mangum, the hit king for the SEC. Unbelievable career at Hail State. You'll see him all around Starkville the next couple of weeks, cheering on the Bulldogs. He's heading down to the Tampa area as part of the Tampa Bay Rays, and he's on the 40-man roster, which is a huge deal, and we're all excited for him, and he's going to get that underway around February 2nd or 3rd. But Keyshawn Murphy, he was hurt the first 2 years, and he couldn't get going, and Jan's talked about it on this show, and you started to see some things last year when he and Tolu actually got healthy at the same time. They got hurt and healthy at the same time. His game is now more refined. What he's doing around the basket as far as his touch, and you mentioned their ability to pass the basketball. It's rare in college basketball that you have two big men like Cam and Keyshawn that can pass it and share it like they do. That's a huge asset for this team.
Yeah, man, we got 3 big guys. Definitely Murphy and Cam, no doubt about it. But Nwoko's really done a good job too. I know he didn't have a great game against South Carolina, but that's the best part about this team. It's he didn't need to.
Right.
Like he fouled out a little early, but man, he's had some games where he's done a great job. We're deep. We have help, and on any given night, someone can step up.
I know. Jackson Meadows, how you doing over there, buddy? You good?
So, I'm just trying to remember the last time the Hump was like that.
Probably. So right at the end of Rick Stansberry's tenure, they still had some good teams.
Right.
And they went to the NCAA tournament the year before his last year. So I'd say right around there.
Okay.
And that's when it was nuts. Now, since, as Jake knows, and you need to get up there, they've renovated the Hump, and it looks great.
It's been a while.
The club level's nice. They've got a speakeasy club level area down below now. The concessions and all the restrooms were redone, which desperately needed an upgrade. It's a lot better.
Dang.
And it's all it's light colors. It was built in the 70s. It was unheard of.
Right.
It was really nice considering, but the upgrade looks great. Don't you agree?
It does. You kind of come in the entrances. There's these big screen TVs.
Yeah.
The attention to detail is great. Man, and the roof's not high. It's like when we pack that place out and have good energy and people are on their feet, clapping, screaming, like that's a loud arena.
Yeah.
Like it gets loud. And I know we've had that in the past, but man, I hate talking about Saturday too much because Vanderbilt's going to be tough tonight on the road.
I know. I'm worried like you.
And every single coach in the SEC is talking about protecting the home court. So if we can start conference play 2-0, 1-0 on the road, that's a really good start, man, because, it's 20 wins will get you in, and we're already at 13. So, and we don't want to just get in. Like with this team, it's one of those things. Like right now we're projected 2 seed, some people 3 seed.
Dang.
If you want to make a run in the tournament, you better be a top 3, 4 seed. So we got to keep rolling.
Out of bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, driven by your next Ford Explorer at Mack Haik Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. Our friend Jake Mangum joining us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And again, headed down to spring training in a few weeks. I'm going. All right, so I haven't been since I was a kid. That was a big deal. My dad took us down there. And that was when Raffy and Will and Brantley and Thigpen and all those dudes had just left Mississippi State.
Okay.
So, I was, by the way, I was a huge Ricky Henderson fan growing up. He passed away last week. That was the only time I rooted against Ricky Henderson was when Clark and Brantley at the Giants, they played the A's in 1989 in the World Series. It's the Earthquake World Series.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Ricky Henderson, McGuire, Jose Canseco, but I couldn't go against Will and Brantley. But my point is, I haven't been down there forever. I'm coming down there to see you, and now I'm an empty nester. I have nothing else to do, and it's going to be awesome. And like when you said 75 degrees, I thought, damn, that sounds good in late February, early March.
It's really cold in Mississippi in January, February, a couple weekends in March. And my dad to this day, and look, my dad played 9 years for the Chicago Bears.
That's cold.
That's cold. But to this day, he still tells me, like, after, watching me play at Mississippi State, he was like, man, there's not many colder places on earth than, February Duty Noble Field. He still laughs about, like, some of the cold games we had at Duty Noble Field.
Yeah, that February 17th when y'all get started?
Yeah, when we get started, it's cold. Dude. And, my dad, playing at Soldier Field for 9 years, like, with the Great Lakes, kind of the wind blowing off that, it's crazy to me that he even says Duty Noble Field's a cold place in the first couple weekends of the season.
Look, it's so you had to sit out there in the outfield, and when you get a February game and the wind's kicking, the
wind changes everything. It changes everything. Cold's not bad, but when that wind starts whipping, it's like, all right, this is cold. But that's. It's part of it.
Sure.
Every year, when you're training for, Mississippi State baseball, it was always like, hey, it's going to be cold the first couple weekends, but we can handle it. And I'm excited about this baseball team too.
So is Lamona's.
Talking to the coaches, seeing the players and a little bit this off season. I'm excited about this baseball team. I'm really, really ready to follow them and, get to watch them play during spring training.
Yeah. Lamona's was on, a couple months ago, I guess mid-November, right around the same time maybe you were on, and he was talking about getting Ross Highfield back.
He's a freak athlete, man.
That's exactly what Lamona said.
Freak athlete. He's fast, strong, just works hard. He's you don't see many catchers that can run like he can, so he's special. It's really nice to get him back.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to be real good this year.
That's what he said, and Justin Parker's done a great job, and they went and got the Indiana State ace, and Pico Khan coming back. Stone Simmons is now healthy. Lamona's mentioned that, Jake Mangum, in the interview too. So they went and got Hungate, the closer from Virginia. So they've got some they've got some nice pieces, and I could tell. You know how coaches are. They always, I don't know if we're going to be good. Da, da, da. Lamonis was, he would for a coach. He was optimistic.
He had pep in his step.
Yeah. So that's and I talked to he and Gotro in the at their tailgate. You were in there some too in the fall, and I could tell that they were excited. Jake Mangum on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. So let's see. No, you're not going to catch any MS because you're going so early.
I have not been to a Mississippi State baseball game since I was done playing.
Dang.
So
Really?
yeah, and I won't be able to until I'm done playing. But
okay,
that's not bad. It's fine. One day I'll get to go back, and that'll be a lot of fun to go to a game at Duty Noble. But in the meantime, I get to watch them play in the afternoons during spring training. Yeah. So that's
good.
It's nice.
Who was the Westberg and who was the other guy? They were both kind of in the same class.
Foscue.
Yep. I had not. I know a lot of you guys. I had not met Foscue, and he came in town for the first weekend. Mm-hmm. Maybe last year, or the year before, and I got to visit with him a little bit. It was the COVID year that they got taken away from. That would have been their junior year.
Yep,
and they both went in the draft. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yes, their last year was COVID year, 2020, and they're both big leaguers, man. They've both made it up.
Are they both in?
Yeah. Foscue made it up with the Rangers. He's 40-man with the Rangers, and Westberg, had an all-star year last year.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
A lot of good players at Mississippi State. A lot of guys that have success in pro ball. So it's always fun to follow those guys.
What was it like? I've asked you this before, but some people are listening that haven't heard this. Because I just think the world of him. As a baseball coach, he was unreal, but he's also one of the most intense people I've ever been around. What was it like playing under Cohen?
I love Coach Cohen. He was my freshman year head coach. He recruited me. Love Coach Cohen. He very intense. My dad's an intense guy too, so it was my dad helping me with baseball over the years. Kind of going into Coach Cohen my freshman year, I think that helped a lot. And think the world of Coach Cohen. I can't thank him enough for giving me the opportunity to come play at Mississippi State. I was really fortunate to have some good coaches at Mississippi State.
Yeah, no doubt. Cohen, Can, and Lamonis, all really good. So would you say
and Henderson, Cohen?
And that's right, Gary
Cohen,
Henderson,
Canizero, Henderson, Lamonis, all four of them great coaches. Learned something different from all of them, and we had some good teams those 4 years for sure.
Yeah. How many years did you have Gotro? Two.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, 2 years.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's
such a good dude.
Yeah, the man. Great hitting coach, knows ball, and helps you with life too.
Yeah.
And I've always appreciated that with Coach Goat.
He told the best story about you one year because you were like 16-2 against Ole Miss or whatever it was, and
14.
Okay, 14-2 against Ole Miss, and he said Jake is in the Palmetto Center hitting the weekend playing Ole Miss. I don't know if it's between game 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. And he said, I'm going over there and you go, I got it. Don't. And he was like, it's Jake Mangum. So I walked away and you ended up going like, I don't know, 3 for 4 or something like that. But the way he framed it up was hilarious because you were like, I got it. I know whatever it was. I know y'all are always working on, 47 different things.
And I hate he told that story because there's so many times that Coach Goat helped me a lot. But yeah, I know what story he's telling. That was. I just told him, hey man, I'm all right. Like I'm gonna lock in today. Or I was always locked in.
Yes, you were.
I was like I feel good today, Coach.
Right.
And he said, all right, go get him.
Yeah.
But my senior year, I was going through a rut, and this was regionals. I was on a tough stretch my senior year, late. And I went into his office. I was like, man, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to be honest with you. And we were playing Miami that night in the regionals my senior year. And he basically told me, you're just being soft. Like he's saying, got nothing to do with your swing. You're just being soft, and that's all I needed to hear. That night, I went like 3 for 5 and broke out of it and started rolling again. So I mean, look, Coach Goat knew how to handle me. I'm appreciative of our friendship, and man, I believe in the coaching staff, all of them,
Absolutely,
all of them. I think, man, they've
done
brought
a great job.
They brought the first national championship to our school, and it took us a long time to do that. I'm really, really thankful that those guys are leading the charge at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think Lamonis, Gotro, and Parker. That's a hell of a staff. And
Parker, that hire, Lamona's hiring Parker was unbelievable.
No doubt.
Like what that pitching staff did last year was so good. When you talk to Coach Parker, he's different. Like he's got that it factor. He knows how to handle people, and man, he's tough, man. Like it.
Yeah.
I love his mental side of it. It's not just pick your leg up, stay grounded, follow through. It's some mental stuff that I want my pitchers to have.
Yeah.
Like I want my closer to be a little crazy. I want my starters. I want my starters
Landon
to be
Sims.
really. Yeah. I want them to be a little on the crazy side. I want my starters to be really confident and trust their stuff, and he helps you get there.
Love it. Hey, thanks for coming in.
Anytime. Enjoy it.
We appreciate it. Jake Mangum, the hit king out of Mississippi State. Unbelievable career, fan favorite. And what I love about him is he roots like crazy for all these student athletes now. I mean, he went out to MSU soccer games when they were making that run this past year.
They deserved it. Well, when you get to number one in the country like that, and you're our soccer team deserves some support this year, and that's what's cool about Mississippi State, man. You win, people will show up if you win.
Jake Mangum, Tampa Bay Rays, 40-man roster, joining us on the Out of Bounds Show. If you missed anything, you can go to Spotify or Apple Podcast and search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds, or go to YouTube and search Out of Bounds Sports. It was brought to you by two brothers. Older brother, Farm Bureau Insurance, and Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. We'll see you tomorrow.